Welcome to another episode of What Works for Me, a podcast highlighting best practices in Christian schools. This podcast is produced in partnership with Lutheran Education Association. To discover how LEA supports Christian teachers in schools, visit www.lea.org. My name is Mike Sheeman, principal of Bethany Lutheran School in Parma, Ohio.
My name is Rob Lunak. I'm the superintendent of Lutheran Neighborhood Schools in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And as we record this episode, we are in October. And when this episode launches, it will still be October. And if you are in a Lutheran school, you know it is at the end of October. And no, I'm not talking about Halloween. And today we have Kerrick Sawyer. Kerrick is the principal of Trinity Green Bay. And Kerrick, you do some really neat things around Reformation, and so that's what we want to talk about today. But before we get there, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. As I said, I'm Kerrick Sawyer, the principal of Green Bay Trinity Lutheran School here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. My school is an association that has also a high school at the end, NEW-LHS. And my third year here at this school, and plan on being here for quite a while. So it's wonderful being on this podcast, and happy to talk about what I inherited. It's something that I'll brag about, but I didn't create this wonderful thing we have at our school called the Marty Party. But that's me. I have three girls that back me up, my wife and two daughters, and fortunately they're able to stay home while I'm here in Green Bay. So all good things. And I'm maybe cut out the rambling. I don't know.
So, Kerrick, you said you're at Green Bay for this is your third year, you said, right? So you have some experience at other schools as well. So when you say you inherited the Marty Party, let's dive into some Reformation stuff. So you inherited some things. I'm guessing you've seen things in other schools as well. But maybe can you tell us a little bit about why just in general Reformation is a big thing for you as a principal, and how you enjoy celebrating with the kids?
Sure. I mean, for many reasons, it's I remember in grade school celebrating a Reformation Day on the day or near it, just as a highlighting of that Lutheran identity of where we come from. And for students who have, the new Lutherans, we call them new Lutherans, allow them a chance to also dive into what in like the world history that is impacted as a result of the Lutheran Reformation. And so it's a time where we our veteran students who get to enjoy, but then also students who are new to our school learn a little bit more about what happened, what is it to be a Lutheran. Like most schools, we have the enduring faith curriculum that sometimes makes assumptions about what kids may already know depending on the grade they enter. So it's a nice way for us to also really quickly abridged method crash course on kind of that Lutheranism 101. And so for me, it's just a wonderful way to highlight that. Personally, it kind of combats the crazies of Halloween. And so while, a lot of kids are kind of looking at the occult, we're here at school, we're looking at quite the opposite of, law, gospel, word, and sacrament, and everything that I cherish personally about being a Lutheran for a whole school day, or a part of a school day.
Well, so Mike called it a Marty Party. You called it a Marty Party. What is the Marty Party?
Well, it's a party that we celebrate for Martin Luther, but I'm a big fan of the rhyme. So Marty Party, it's for us a half-day endeavor where students and their chapel families move throughout the building to different stations. And at different stations, there's activities that highlight Reformation. And some of them are more experiential and like very tactile. Some of them are more academic in nature, and then some are purely like goof around, and we need to burn some energy that we've had them pent up over the course of the day. So I have the schedule. But it's a whole morning thing, and ironically this year it lands on a half day for us. And so it's purely that the whole day is just the Marty Party. But we have a craft. We do Luther's seal, and during that time where they're working in their, I guess I should backtrack. And when we say chapel families, it's a combination of all of our students, intermixed by grade, or so mixed. So it's older kids then leading the younger kids around, and it's nice in that regard that you kind of have the responsible 7th and 8th graders moving around with the younger kids. But we have a craft where they're doing Luther's seal, and while they're doing it, kind of that history of what does Luther's seal, what's that for? What does each part of it mean? And then relating that to just the Lutheran doctrine. Um, we happen to have a real blessing of our third grade teacher who spent time in Germany abroad because of her husband's service. And so she does a tour of Wittenberg presentation with the students and walks them through Wittenberg and has her own physical artifacts that children can touch and see. And so they're, trying to be there at the chapel doors. Um, our music teacher, our kindergarten, who's also a music teacher, does hymn singing. So she's an adept pianist. She plays, and the kids just sing hymn. So of course, Mighty Fortress, and they talk a little bit about it. One of our things that we do is they learn how to read out of the hymnal, and so just singing around and singing, and then talking about why Luther wrote this and why it's considered the Reformation hymn. What's the purpose and the power behind it, and why they're going to hear it a lot, especially on Reformation Sunday. Then we have a teacher who just does Reformation trivia in her classroom, and it's trying to stump them. And some of the times, one of my favorite things about trivia games is just you don't think it's true, and then it's true, and you learn a lot about Katie and Luther and just Martin, and then a lot of funny things about just how they met in their life. Um, the part that kind of was aired on the news a little bit for me was a Diet of Worms relay, where of course we talk about what the Diet of Worms was, but then I make them run a relay race while also eating gummy worms. So they're having a nice diet of worms and a misinterpretation of that. Um, and then down in our basement, our seventh and eighth graders in the seventh grade room, we have quills by candlelight, where we have a bunch of battery operated candles. And in that group, they are translating a text using a quill and ink, and by candlelight. And it's a perfect room because there's no windows and it's super dark. And so holding their little, of course, it doesn't work in real life, but they're holding their candle sideways to try to see what they're writing, and then translating just a random text that's been encoded, kind of like the Drink More Ovaltine, where they have like the letters and they're trying to decode it. And it's a lot of fun because then that has a wrap up lesson of just how complicated it would have been. Put yourself a little bit in those shoes. So the objective of the whole thing is some fun, but each category, each section is either kind of living, feeling it, understanding what was at stake, what is for us kind of the pride of our existence as a Lutheran school. Obviously, we know that Lutheran schools wouldn't exist without the Reformation and Luther's success. And then it grants the opportunity for students who know very little to garner some wisdom, glean some insights, and certainly appreciate maybe what they're coming into. And then because it's, every year it's a little bit different, it's nice as kind of an equalizer where kids who maybe don't know all the academics have a way of experiencing it in other activities and means. So it's really been a fun thing for us. And we do our best to incorporate our pastors from our association if they want to be involved, and just have a lot of fun with it. So I have a monk costume and a bald cap that I wear. And it's a whole part of the thing where, I'm a friend of Martin Luther, and I'm here to make sure that we know and keep alive what he started. An activity that comes and goes is another one that's we have an actual door that's in storage, and storage is always a premium, so it's survived another year in storage. But the kids they'll nail the gratitude, the things that they're thankful for onto this door, because we talk about the 95 theses, but we focus more on like just the action of nailing something, but then it's something they're thankful for or that they're blessed by. And then we keep that door on display in the hallway for a little while, and kids can come back and look at it. And that's a fun visual reminder. But we kind of look at the young kids and wonder who can handle a hammer and nail. And then if it's a couple grades, we're like, we have the backup activity that involves less, ice packs.
You have some Reformation sticky notes. Is that how it works?
Oh yeah, or Band-Aids because they,
Right. So, okay, Kerrick, I'm listening to you talk, and as an administrator, I'm thinking, okay, I need to steal this whole thing and do it. But can you maybe just give some logistics? So do all the teachers do something? And then my other question would be, Just to give context to anybody listening, like how big is your school? How many kids are in the groups that are going around? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, great. All great questions. So we have 145 students this year. They're broken into um, was it 6 groups? And so each chapel family is kind of randomly made, but we're averaging like 9, 10. Let's see. Actually, let me do the math better. Uh, if it's an even split, I know there's one big group because we made sure we filled it with kids that we could trust to really help. But it averages about in this activity specifically, there's like 12 in our chapel families. But I should note that for the chapel families, we put 2 groups together. So then there's about 24 kids traveling in the 6 rotations.
Okay.
And so but our chapel families range somewhere a little bit larger because we know the kids can handle more youngers. But it's about logistically 24 kids in this event moving as a clump. There's normally 1 or 2 teachers in an event, and they're together. One's kind of the lead and one is the supporting role. And so depending on which activity we have in the rotation, if it's the door activity, then our second grade teacher takes lead on that. But for the Wittenberg tour, we need our third grade teacher who lived in Germany to lead that. Um, and what we do is we have an intercom system in our building. And so we always start in the gym. I'll make my appearance, let the kids get their giggles out because, of course, seeing their principal bald and wearing a monk robe and his sandals and totally, I don't recognize any of them. I'm not from 2024. I'm from, 1500s. Then once they get all those giggles out, we explain kind of the logistics of who's moving where. In the nice way we have it set up, knowing if you're familiar with our school, it's kind of 2 levels is all we have for our school. So, and the rotation we make kind of allows for one-way traffic. So they start at one, and then they're always moving in one direction until they return back to their original classroom or gym or wherever they started from. And um, for instance, it's about 15 minutes we meet in the gym, and then it's 15-minute rotation. So we start at 8:45, and then we're done at 11:05. And because it's an early dismissal day, we dismiss at 11:30. So then they have it gives us a bit of a cushion in case we're running behind. My session, I tend to always run late on, and kids are piling in, and I haven't finished running the relays, but um, that's a bit of the logistics. It's definitely scalable because if you have more teachers that want to do more, it's really quite nice. Our big kids do a great job. We don't have to monitor the hallways too much because they know exactly where they're going. And then at this point in October, our chapel families have been very well established, and the big kids are taking on that role of a leader. If anyone Googles that news clip, they specifically grabbed an 8th grader, and he was talking about how great it was to lead the kids around, and kind of they've done it a couple of years, so they know what to expect, and so now it's building the excitement and fun for the big kids as they're moving around and kind of enchanting it some more. So when they're walking into the basement, I remember one of the 8th graders saying, "Oh, here we go, we're going up and hiding in the castle." But then the 3rd grader was like, "But we're walking into a basement." Hey, no, 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 we're going up into the castle, we're hiding out. Don't spoil the magic for the kindergartner.
I'll definitely have to find that clip and I'll include that as a link with the description of this episode so people can watch that. You did a great job on that, by the way. It looked like a lot of fun.
It's totally fun.
So if somebody's listening and they go, okay, well, they do a ton of stuff there. My school does, we sing a Mighty Fortress in chapel, and that's it. And they want to do more. Where would you tell a school to start if they want to do this? Because obviously they can't start doing what you guys do right away. This built up over years. So what advice
Yeah.
would you give to that person?
I guess it comes down to a bit of the culture you want to establish behind it. Um, in our community, so many of the churches have their own trunk or treats on different days of the year, and so trick or treating is kind of on its way out in a lot of parts of Green Bay. And I always buy lots of candy, and no one comes, so it's a shame that I have to eat it all. But then, as a school, we are looking at, well, we want to take we want to do something that kind of overrides what Halloween is. And so for us, it was so important, and kind of explain to the parents, it's so important to us that it's going to be a full almost school day. And in this event, it is a full school day that we want to celebrate and honor what it is to be a Lutheran and to educate and teach. So the starting point is kind of first analyzing you as a school. Where do you think this would work? You know, is there going to be a lot of pushback from staff? Do you have, pastoral support that are willing to gung ho and help, financially get things that might need to be part of the programming of it? But realistically, if it's how important is it that you do something like this, and how much are you willing to dedicate into your day? For me, it's paramount. It's part of our vision and mission statement is who we are. So it's not hard for me to sit there and go, well, I can justify this instructional hours easily, and then make it part of something that the culture has adopted and runs with. So start with that, analyzing, how big do you want it to be and how would you justify it? And then build the excitement and have teachers gauge what they want to do because everyone has something they want to do, I'm sure. And maybe just that empowering of the teachers to say, you have something you want to do related. Maybe you want to do the craft. Great. You want to read aloud the Lutheran uh, illustrated book. I know it's got Luther on the front. I can't remember what the full name of it is. Um, and maybe that's what that teacher wants to contribute, but it's also this has evolved because what do the teachers want to do? What's play to their strengths, and make a fun activity. It's also very educational. So I will say like why it evolves is like the door can come and go, the diet of worms relay can come and go. Like I have a different activity that some years I might try where I have tonic water and uh, no sugar added cranberry juice and I think it was just soda water. And the whole point of that was I kind of related to it was instead of the three solas, it was the three sodas. And I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I bought three sodas, but these are not, but they were all really gross too. And so it was like, and each one I did kind of relate. And so tonic water has that fun thing with a black light where it glows under a black light. And so
I
tonic,
did not know that.
oh, okay. So it's a fun chapel message too. But if you take tonic water, put it under a black light, it actually glows a blue color. And it's because of one of the chemicals in it. One of the, I think taurine or something. But that was a really fun message of like on the surface, it looks like Sprite. It could be any clear soda. You're not sure. You give it a taste and oh, it's not, it's pretty gross. But also if you put under a black light, it looks very different. And talking about on the surface level, we all look very similar. It's hard to tell everyone about it, but God reads the hearts. God knows who we are on the inside. We really glow for Christ in different ways. Um, and then a lot of the kids are just walking out of that super grossed out and hating the soda, and that was probably problematic. So that's not what I wanted them to focus on. And so we swapped it out for a diet of worms, which then you tell kids, well, welcome to the worm relay where you're going to be eating worms. And then you don't necessarily explain to them that it's gummy worms until after they've started. They're not really sure what they're going to get into. Um, so I think it's play to your teacher's strengths. Let them be very creative because I know they all have something they would love to do to make it educational and then yet fun.
So, Kerrick, there's probably people out there listening that are going, okay, I have a few more questions. Do you mind? Can we include your email address in the show notes? You'd be okay with that and answering some questions, maybe sharing some resources?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That's
for
awesome.
instance, and I can email you a copy of this Marty Party schedule if you want to make that part of the show notes too, and they
Yeah.
can click on it.
No, that'd be great. I appreciate it and definitely appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. I think this is first off very very unique, but also of course the Reformation is so core to the people that are listening to this podcast that to be able to celebrate it this way, I think is just going to bring a lot of fun to the kids and create one of those memorable moments of school for them. So thanks for all that you do, and if it's okay, I'd love to send us off in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity that we've had here to talk to Kerrick and hear some of the great things that are going on at Green Bay Trinity Lutheran School. And pray that you would continue to bless Kerrick and his ministry and all of the kids that and the families that call that place home. We thank you for the ways that that school is sharing your message with their kids, especially through the uniqueness of the Marty Party and the Reformation celebration. And pray that as they prepare for another one to come in just a few short weeks, that it would be a blessing and that they would have a great time doing that. But that through this, more kids, more families, even the community might come to know that the reason for everything that we do is to share your love, share the fact that we are that you were crucified and you've risen from the dead. And so we have the sure and certain hope of heaven. And what a joy it is to share that message. I pray that you would continue to bless all who learn and all who serve in that school. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.